Okay.
Good afternoon, folks. This is Deb and Dave. It is the 1st of October, and this is your Factivist Report. The subject tonight is union strong, not union wrong. And if you are considering voting for Donald Trump and you think he's got the answer for the working class, you have been fucking asleep for the past, say 10 years. And you probably haven't read Project 2025 yet. And, if you vote stupid, you're going to be screwing us all over. Have a good day.
You vote stupid, you get stupid, and I don't even know what to say anymore. I mean, I'll say this on the day of the vice presidential debate. Just listen to Tim Walz. He has a lot to say in regards to unionizing, and I haven't heard him be wrong once. And on the eve or like on the precipice of a longshoreman strike, which could cost the country a lot of money, I think you should listen to the workers at this point. Okay. I will say I read the article about the longshoreman strike. Some of it, okay, they're fighting for wages and they're fighting for um the mechanization part. Listen, you're going to have new technology come up all the time. I don't know what's part of their modernization uh contract or part of the contract or whatever. I don't know, but it's kind of a fact of life, but at the same time, I don't know the specifics. What I know is that a lot of times it's not what the management does, it's how they do it. A lot of it. But what we're talking about, most of what we're talking about is the hold on, let me slow down. The National Labor Relations Board and a little bit about the EEOC. Trump, Musk, the right wingers don't think that those organizations should even exist.
Good luck. That's all I'm saying.
I, now, I'm going to go into it a little bit. I'm not going to dive into the weeds that much, but I don't, I don't understand what people don't understand. All right. So this is just from the very beginning. This is longshoreman strike. By the way, the longshoremen filed a claim with the National Labor Relations Board. I will explain a little bit more about what the National Labor Relations Board is and why they are important and why they are being attacked. But
Because they
right now,
represent power for the workers. That's why they're being attacked.
correct, correct. And by the way, they've been attacked ever since they were formed in 1935. Okay, so this is what the longshoreman strike is about. You may not be able to get your favorite drink at your supermarket for a little while because we get our goods through longshoremen and through docks. Okay. Now, what I want to say is this isn't really about what the longshoremen are doing and how they're hurting the economy through striking. The real point is what they contribute in the first place. You wouldn't be worried about a strike if they were being compensated. This is their argument. It's always going to be their argument. So National Labor Relations Board. There's just a little thing about strikes and protests and pickets and that kind of thing. All employees, union or not, have the right to participate in a protected strike, picket, or protest. And yes, that word protected is important. Now, the National Labor Relations Board, as I said, they were created in 1935 as part of what was called the Wagner Act to protect union workers and allow them to unionize in the first place. A lot of what the National Labor Relations Board does, which, by the way, they are a group of hired lawyers and judges and people in law. That's who they are to make sure that union workers are treated fairly. Now, union workers protected not only, well, they're going after not only management, but in some cases, the unions themselves. If the union doesn't represent the workers and the workers can prove that, there we go. As a matter of fact, the managers or the supervisors of the docks filed a claim with the NLRB to bring the longshoremen to the table to negotiate. This is how this works. This is just yeah, this is just a little bit of information about what a strike is, how people are affected. Deb could probably talk more about this than me because number one, since the early 70s, postal workers can't strike. They also got a ton of benefits from the 1973 postal strike. But the point being that when you strike, you don't get paid.
Right.
Okay. So these guys must really be committed to do this.
Yep.
It's just more about the port workers. And here's another thing that we talk about all the time. And Deb, you might want to talk on it real quick. Deregulation.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, definition, pros and cons and examples. Here's what they say pros and cons. And by the way, this is huge with the Heritage Foundation. They want to rip away everything,
They want to
honestly.
deregulate almost every industry. They really do.
So this
Oil
is
and
the
gas.
argument. Yeah, exactly. So this is the argument advantages of deregulation. Economic growth, not necessarily. Lower prices for consumers, increase competition and consumer choice, help small businesses, greater freedom. Now, greater freedom for what? Greater freedom for the uh, the grocery store owners or whatever, I guess. But here's the thing. Yeah, maybe it helps business and whatever, but without price regulation,
Again,
stores can charge whatever they want. You're going to hear a lot of that, in the coming months if the Democrats win, that yeah, they're going after price gouging. Now, here is what we
and
let
if the Republicans win, they're going to be price gouging. So
right.
you have a choice here. The choice is always, between the Republicans and the Democrats, and it's always bad versus good. That's the way this works.
So Deb can attest to this. This is completely true. Disadvantages of deregulation: lower standards,
Yep.
private monopoly,
Yep.
market failures.
Yep.
Um, deregulation examples like the airlines, the banks,
The
the
bank
motor.
deregulations, that's how we had
Uh,
the crash of 2008. That's
yep,
exactly what that was all about.
the Motor Carrier Act of 1980. So I'm just
I think they missed one here. Honestly, the Telecommunications Act of 1996 that opened the fucking door for
Right.
people to buy up all of the news media outlets and control the narrative.
Yep.
That was another huge one,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Which, by the way,
which, by
gave
the way,
way to gave way to all sorts of tomfuckery.
yep.
Uh, Fox News, Newsmax, OAN.
And
Thank you.
really just concentrating the owners. No more
Right.
broad-based ownership, just all of our
Right.
media being owned by 5 or 6 corporations. That's never been a good idea. Never.
No. And you think you look at
And
what?
here's what that has led to. What that
Yep.
has led to is a decline in journalistic standards, a very huge decline in journalistic standards.
Not only journalistic standards, but managerial standards. You look at Roger Ailes. He freaking roamed the coop for freaking decades, sexually harassing people, and he didn't care about the news. He just cared about profits and blah blah blah. So JD Vance and Tim Walz. Tim Walz is a union guy. So I expect something to come up about unions, especially now with the longshoreman strike coming up. I can just feel it. So just be aware this is coming. Okay. So the National Labor Relations Board, I'm going to do this real quick. This e-filing, I want to show you something. If I can do it. There we go. So this this is the official form to file a charge against your employer. And this is through the NLRB. And if you look at it, okay, most of this is about adverse action because you are part of a union. Most of it. One of it is failure to bargain. That's weird things that they do to try to ram stuff through. But most of this is because the employee supported a union and or engaged in union activity, discharge, firing. By the way, that's a lot of of the charges against employers with the NLRB. Uh, Employee talk to each other about wages, hours, or other terms or conditions of employment, blah blah blah. So you can go down the line here, and again, the the National Labor Relations Board primary function is to protect people from being in a union and discussing union matters in the first place. Okay. Refusal to reinstate after lawful strike because the employee supported a union and or engaged in union activities. So these are the kind of things that we're talking about. Now, the first the first article that I found. This is on labor. This is from January of this year. Understanding the latest constitutional attacks on the NLRB. The bottom line is this was tried in the Supreme Court in 1937. So there are a couple of cases coming up. One is SpaceX. There's SpaceX, there's Trader Joe's, there's Amazon, there's a few others that are looking to get, part of this thing, questioning the constitutionality of the NLRB and saying that they
So they can
exceed their power,
screw over
basically.
their workers. That's what they're
Right.
trying to do. Yeah, it's a good
Yeah,
reason to not shop at Trader Joe's anymore.
right. Now, The Lochner era drew to a close after Roosevelt's threats to pack the court, but the justices finally upheld the NLRB's constitutionality in 1937. So now, one other thing you have to be aware of, there was something called the Chevron Doctrine, which allowed people to defer to government agencies for certain court issues and court cases. That has been overturned. So attacks on the NLRB are possible. One thing I want to say about this is that Elon Musk and Donald Trump discussed firing striking workers.
And that's who he's
Which,
going to put in charge, by the way, is Elon
yep,
Musk. Did you see this article to the right here? Tracking attacks on the NLRB. Ohio and Michigan judges reject employers' challenges.
actually, no. Shoot it to me. I'll put it in.
It's right on the page you're on.
Oh, here. Oh, yeah. The John Fry article. But this is, I mean, honestly, this is par for the course. This is what happens. Employers, they challenge a motion. They either win or they lose. Sometimes they win. Let's see. Okay, so right, the court first rejected the argument. Right, right. So this stuff happens all the time. That this is what the NLRB is there for, to see. And this is U.S. Maritime Alliance. These are the longshoremen. Files an unfair labor practice charge. Now, you can't necessarily stop automation. Technology has been around forever, but there should be, I don't know what their union, rules are in terms of notification or any of that stuff. You can't just put stuff in. You have to notify. But the one thing was the low wages was the big one. Let's see here. No. Uh, Stop it. So we have two cases that are questioning the constitutionality of the NLRB right now. And you can take a look. I'm not going to go deep, but Deb and I talked about this a lot. Trump hated to give overtime. Trump didn't give overtime. He actually said to avoid give overtime, he would fire people working overtime to hire other workers.
By the way, the part of Project 2025 is to get rid of overtime pay. I hope you people really understand what's going on here. I really
Right.
do. Because if you don't know after the 10 years of exposure you've had to this guy, the way he's decimated the American economy, the way he has no respect for the American worker, the way he has no respect for the American people in general, if you can't fucking see that now, I don't know what the hell it's going to take. Maybe another 4 years of him so that there's no election in 2028. How does that sound to you all?
But and the way he treated workers, the way he treated postal workers, the way he treated delivery drivers
The way
during
he
the
treats
pandemic.
his own workers.
Right,
Stiffs his goddamn contractors. He
right,
treats the women, the people that clean his fucking hotel are all undocumented workers, folks. So
right.
everybody understands.
And by the way, they're undocumented for a reason. Or he hires them for a reason. So he doesn't have to pay them if they get hurt.
That's right.
And so they don't talk back.
And I'll tell you how I know that. Because not by my choosing, but I went on a business trip and I stayed at the Trump Hotel, much
Oh,
to my
sorry.
disgust.
Just talking about Fane for a minute. Um, I'm trying to remember the Teamster guy, but this is a UAW president, Fane, announces strike vote plans. And by the way, he filed with uh, with the NLRB as well because Stellantis promised to build a plant and then they pulled back.
Right.
And there we go. This is the Starbucks, which is basically the one that's like starting every damn thing.
Yeah, because God forbid they should do anything for their workers. When I worked at Starbucks, when I started in 2005, they were a very, very good company. When I left in 2013, they sucked.
Right. Basically what the claim is, and I believe that eventually the workers they won, but they lost. They were being let go. They stores were being closed, and people were being fired because they were unionizing.
Maybe
But what
everybody should try to unionize and they'll close all their stores. They
right?
won't have to worry about it.
But what management? What's his name? Howard. What's his? What's the owner's name?
What, the new guy? There's a new CEO. The
There's a new guy.
new
Howard.
CEO is the guy from Chipotle.
Okay, all right. But Howard Schultz, every once in a while, he makes his comments. He's pretty much retired at this point,
Yeah,
but
he's
yeah,
been
he
retired a few times.
he
When they
he
fuck
comes
up, they
back.
when they fuck up, they bring them out of mothballs.
Right, exactly. So, what he says is, well, no, no, no. This is just the nature of business. Yeah,
Oh
right.
yeah, sure it is, Howard. That's why I don't work for Starbucks anymore. It's why I work for Ace Hardware now.
Supreme Court siding with Starbucks makes it harder for the National Labor Relations Board to win court orders in labor disputes. This is just basically what was it? Yeah, they ordered an injunction, and then everybody went nuts and said that they were exceeding their power. And now apparently they might not be able to put injunctions for a while or ever. U.S. judges are flummoxed over NLRB's enforcement power, which kind of stuns me because it's been going on for 90 years. Just saying.
They're flummoxed over a lot of shit.
Amazon joins companies arguing that the U.S. Labor Board is unconstitutional.
Three,
Of
three of the
course,
three of the greediest people in America are doing this, by the way.
Jeff Bezos has been one of the biggest union busters, in the history of United States business,
This is a
honestly.
guy who has violated OSHA regulations. Oh,
Right.
had to have ambulances outside his unair conditioned, whatever they are, buildings, so that in case people get heat stroke, they can be treated. It's amazing.
By the way, there was
You go ahead and vote
I'm
for Joe. Go ahead. You go ahead and vote for Donald Trump. You see what
yeah,
happens.
I missed it. I forgot about it. One other thing, and this was an Elon Musk thing, a SpaceX thing. Maybe I'll find it for the sources. Uh, Courts have found it to be legal for bosses to knock on your door when you call in sick. Now, I
You
don't,
know what?
I don't agree with that,
That's the
but
end of the. That's the end of the law. That's the end of That's the end of the line for me.
right,
You can knock on my fucking door, but you ain't getting in, buddy.
right.
You knock all you fucking want.
So this is, now the Autobahn Society is getting into it. Uh, Okay, so I was trying to remember the charge. The charge was, not providing employee information in a fast enough time, and then unilaterally implementing health insurance changes without letting anybody know.
Yeah,
Just
that's
like, yeah. Okay, so this basically talks about the court case, which upheld that the right for the NLRB to exist. Now, the NLRB is probably going to exist, but some of its power is going to be taken away.
this is my whole point here. Anytime you give business the upper hand, they are going to screw the workers over.
Absolutely.
It's what they do. They have this is not anything new. This has been going on. What they have right now is the climate here where they have, a real bastard running for the presidency who
Right.
does not give a shit about the common man. He gives a shit about the people who are rich. I don't know what kind of proof you need. You didn't see him give any of the people in the United States a tax cut, did you? All you saw get a tax cut were the rich people. And that's what's going to happen again. He's going to take away your overtime. He's going to take away your organizing rights. He's going to do all kinds of shit, okay? And he is going to stack the US government with loyalists. That
Right.
is fascism, okay? Going out and telling policemen that the way we're going to stop crime is you're going to have one day when you can be violent with every American. That's the stuff of fucking Nazi Germany. Does anyone understand what that is? If you haven't seen it yet, if you're not listening, then, you're remiss as a human being, quite frankly.
Now, I talked about it a little bit, and again, you can talk about Supreme Court reform all you want, but court cases do not come around every day. So it might take some time to overturn all of this stuff. Uh, the Chevron decision basically, as I said, uh, allowed certain government entities to take care of some things instead of the courts. It's been thrown out now. So we'll see what happens with the NLRB and if it'll even exist. I think it will, but at a diminished in a diminished role. And just so you know, on a personal note, I recently filed a labor charge. And the first time in like 18 or actually 26 years of being with the United States Postal Service, I filed a labor charge. Doesn't feel good, really, but I felt like I had to, so I did. I spoke with one of the individuals, and she's basically saying that now every time a big case comes up, like Stellantis or the longshoremen strike, they're getting attacked with, well, you're not even supposed to be doing this. You're unconstitutional. You're unconstitutional. That hasn't been, that was decided 90 years ago. But now
Well,
we're
Roe was
talking about a
decided 50
Supreme
years
Court
ago.
with no precedent. They
Roe,
don't
Roe
care
was
about
Roe
precedent.
was Roe was decided 50 years ago, and
Right.
look where it is. Now
Right.
we have a president. We have presidents who can do whatever the fuck they want under the guise of making it official business. They can break all kinds of laws because of the Supreme Court. So
I saw this one, right before I came on. Union members could be big for Trump. He keeps complicating that. He
yeah,
keeps
well,
complicating
he's
that with
complicating that because he doesn't fucking care about union workers. What do you need? These headlines are just unbelievable.
I know.
Honestly, this is the American media now. It's incredible. Union members could be big for Trump. He keeps complicating that. Shut the fuck up, really.
Trump claims to be a pro worker. His record shows he's anti-union.
If
I
you're
mean, look,
anti-union, you're not pro-worker. It's as simple
right.
as that.
I want a future that protects American labor, not foreign labor. So here's the thing. What about dock workers?
What's that got to do? What's that got to do with unionizing? What the
It
fuck does that
does.
have to do with unionizing?
Right.
It's like his logic with tariffs. That's not going to help the American people. It's going to add $4,000 to their tax bill for the year.
Right.
The guy is an
So,
absolute fucking, one man democracy destruction unit. He really is.
so they list a litany of anti-union decisions. I'm not going to read them out. Read them. I mean, seriously, this guy is not pro-union. I again, right before I got on, I watched CNN or I see a CNN article that says that Trump is going to be huge with union workers. If he is, I don't know what to tell you because he does nothing for you guys.
I wouldn't trust CNN at this point. I don't
I
listen.
don't either, but I mean, still, he's not supportive of workers' rights to organize, bargain collectively, or strike, says Kathy Creighton, an NLRB attorney during the Clinton administration and a union lawyer who now serves as the head of the Buffalo, New York offices of Cornell University's School of Industrial and Labor Relations. Okay, this guy, uh, yeah. Trump was famous for making promises he would stop businesses from moving operations out of the country or shutting them down.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I got a couple of little items for review at some point.
I mean,
He's never
uh,
followed through on one thing he promised to do for workers. Not one.
UAW accuses Trump and Musk to intimidate workers in labor complaints. I've never seen this. Listen. I got through Reagan. Reagan is probably the worst I've ever seen in terms of labor. This guy is off the chain.
So is Musk.
Oh yeah. Okay, so I think that was in here. Yeah. I put this in here for a reason. All those Supreme Court cases we're talking about, all those things that are going to the Supreme Court, guess where they went through? I'll give you a quick guess, Deb.
I don't know.
Blank District Court of Texas. Which district court would it be, Deb?
I'm.
Fifth
Oh,
District Court.
good God.
So they're fighting to keep it out of the Fifth District Court of Texas.
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
Okay, so these are just a couple of things that I found, just examples of other things that happened. Kroger was off the chain this year, apparently. They won the decision to not allow people to strike on their property, which is, oftentimes a policy. They're fighting uh, having a Black Lives Matter sticker on their aprons or whatever. There was something else too.
They're also one of the biggest price gouging companies on the planet.
Yeah.
They've been price gouging for months.
Okay. Oh, right. Okay. And this is something that Trump said that he wanted to do. So, and again, these are the little things that people don't think about. So after a strike, what does Kroger do? They don't put the union dues back in the payroll system, so they don't automatically go to the union. So you're impairing the union
Yeah.
basically. Trump was like, "Oh, I don't think it's fair that the union's allowed to take dues every pay period." Uh, that was yeah. This is Winco. All right. So, right, that's Kroger. Okay. And again, okay, so these are illegal. This was the Went Corporation. This is a steel manufacturer. Uh, released 10 people. Basically, what the NLRB was arguing was it was retaliation. What the company was arguing was that it was due to lack of business, and I believe the uh, the company actually won that one because you know they are allowed to do that. So I just wanted to add this at the end of it. If you think that the NLRB is the only thing in in the workplace that they are attacking, this is not their main target right now. But the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission is definitely
It
going to
will
be a
be.
target.
It will be. And let me just say this. All of these worker protections were put in place for a reason, okay? They were put in place for a reason because workers get shafted without them. And if you're a worker and you're, thinking you're going to get any help from Donald Trump, I seriously have no clue where you've been for the last 10 fucking years. You must have spent the last decade on, mushrooms or something because you're not looking at the same shit that I've been looking at. I've
Well,
about had it after 10 years now here with this guy. I can't even imagine. I can't even tolerate looking at him. I get nauseous just hearing his voice. I'm so fucking done with him.
right. Now,
I am.
this show
On
wasn't
every single level. On every
right.
level.
This show wasn't about that, but we've done shows on sweatshops and awful working conditions and awful employers. And by the way, Donald Trump was one of them.
Get ready. Because there'll be a whole lot of them if you elect him. And I'm going to tell you something. The bottom line here is you elect him this time, we're never digging out of this. I don't have any hope that we will ever dig out of this because there will not be an election next time around. Just understand that. I'm not the only one saying that. Listen to Liz Cheney.
Right. Now, I just put this in here again. They going after the EEOC through the
Of
courts.
course they are. Yeah, of course they are. Why not?
North Dakota judge says the EEOC rule violates freedom of religion for Catholic employers. What is
Bullshit.
this about? Abortion services. That's what
Bullshit.
this is about.
Get another job. That's what you need to do. You don't like it, get another job. You don't want to give out, marriage certificates to gay and lesbian couples. Find another fucking job. That's your fucking job. You work in City Hall. Find another fucking job or pray while you're doing it. One or the other. If it makes you feel better, pray over it. Whatever the fuck you're doing, you know.
I'm going to take this out because I this was another article before, but uh, we already talked about this. So, um, Sean Fain was the one that labeled him a scab at the DNC convention. But by the way, overtime pay. There we go. Okay, this was the last one. All of this is tied into worker protections. They're going to gut worker protections. Okay, I want you to understand that. And whether he's going to claim that he's not an advocate of Project 2025.
You're a liar. Okay.
Listen to him talk about Julian Assange. You know, he mentioned WikiLeaks like 175 billion times and then said he never knew anything about him or whatever.
Donald Trump's name is in the Project 2025 document 312 times. 312 times. Congresswoman, what's her name there in Texas, counted them. 312 times. 140 of the people that worked in his, either in his cabinet or in his regime the last time
Right.
around. 140 of them contributed copy to that thing, okay? J.D. Vance stood up when he took the nomination for the vice presidency and complimented the guy who leads Project 2025. So
Right.
please, folks, if you're that stupid, then you probably should be voting for Donald Trump.
Right. And by the way, I didn't put the article in here, but just real quick, uh, the uh, the leader or the head of Project 2025 was recently dismissed due to improperly treating his workers.
Yeah, good. Then they picked some other Jamocha.
I'm, I'm just saying that for anyone to vote for Trump because he's pro-union, I what? Listen, it's hard enough. It's difficult enough for a union representative to fight for their workers. It's difficult enough to get things done. And we do have a couple of tools, in our toolbox if something gets completely crazy. As I said, you don't typically use the National Labor Relations Board. You don't typically use a labor charge unless it's really serious and really egregious and really crazy.
Donald
Okay.
Trump isn't a hero.
Oh, here we go.
He is a
Zero.
zero. Right the fuck. You got it.
But to take away those few protections that people have, and by the way, to take away the EEOC is it's just unconscionable to me, especially with the attacks on the LGBTQIA plus community right now. So,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know what else to really say other than if you think that worker conditions are
I'll
going to
say
get
something.
better,
I don't really know what to say except remember that the Germans ignored all this shit too.
yeah,
Remember that. What are they doing now? They're teaching the Holocaust in school. Remember that. Remember that.
right, right. I mean, this wasn't about that. This wasn't about. And by the way, I know all about it. I just heard about it before I went on. We're not talking about the freaking whatever the hell is going on in Israel. Not right now. We don't know. We don't know what's going on. Not really.
And I will tell you this. Honestly, my perspective is that's a different topic for a different day because that does not even come into play in my voting. I'm sorry,
No.
but it's not I have to worry. We have to worry about what's going on here.
Well, that's
And
what
that's a plain and simple fact.
I understand that the election doesn't involve Biden anymore, but let's watch what Biden does within the next month, 2 months, whatever, during the end of his term, during this longshoreman strike. And while a war is going on, we might have a crunch in terms of, you know, um, in terms of getting product.
We'll see.
I mean, we'll see. But here's the thing. Don't don't blame Biden and Harris and just completely throw out the system because you're going to get a Jamocha that doesn't care about anything but himself. You've seen him. You've seen. Well, he's not campaigning. He's just playing golf.
He
He
doesn't
doesn't
about
care.
he doesn't give a shit about the people. He doesn't care. He's running to stay out of prison, is really what he's doing.
Right.
He's running
Right.
to stay out of prison. He's running, all right, but he's running for a different reason. I'm serious. He really doesn't give a shit about the people. He never did. So
Deb, a quick thing. And do you want to talk about those candidates that, for one reason or another, are not endorsing Harris, or you want to leave it?
I'm leaving it for now. We can talk about it another night.
I mean, I'm going to say one thing. The bottom line is, if you're a Democrat and you're not, you have to vote these guys in. They're better than the Republicans, but we need to find better choices if this is where we're going.
Right now, the job right now is to purge the government of Republicans. It's as simple as
Right.
that. The GOP has got to go. All of them. They're all they're all compromised. So
I will say this. I understand John Tester because of the climate he's in and because of the state that he is in. That's heavy Republican. And Kamala Harris understands it as well.
yeah.
Okay. She understands where he is.
Stop
But all
saying
of
her
you,
name
all
like
of these
Trump
other
does, will you?
guys,
You need
what's
to
that?
stop saying her name like Trump does. It's Kamala. It's not Kamala. It's
I
Kamala.
thought I said that.
No, you said Kamala.
Okay, well,
He refuses to say it right. It's not that he can't. He refuses. He's a fucking moron.
Kamala, Kamala, Kamala,
Kamala.
Kamala. All
Kamala.
right. Oh, Lord have mercy. I'm singing Kamala Chameleon in my head.
There you go.
Um, but, but anyway, none of that matters. We have to get some semblance back because we have a lot of work to do.
We
A
do.
lot of the infrastructure has already been
And,
ripped
and, and,
out.
and I'm just going to tell you something. You elect Trump, and we know what you're going to spend the next 4 years doing? Fighting for your fucking life.
Right.
Seriously. You will have no time to enjoy anything. You will be fighting for your very freedoms in this country.
Before anybody comes to me and asks me about this, you again, you need a majority in the Senate. You need to not have to worry about the filibuster. This Democrat, and I can't remember who it was, suggested adding six justices to the court. That's all fine and good if you can get it through, and if you iron out different, the specifics of it. Fine, but let's get through this election first. Okay.
And by the way, let me just remind you of something. For all of you people out there, I don't care what race you are, what gender you are, keep in mind that the goal for the GOP under Project 2025 is to get rid of Medicare and Social Security. What are you going to do then? Any
Right.
suggestions? You have any ideas what you might be doing to survive in this country after they do that? Because if you're thinking they're going to, oh, I don't know, help you retire some other way, that's the same thing they've been saying about healthcare. They were going to give us 4 years ago, they were going to give us something better and less expensive than Obamacare. Remember that? When they asked him that's now, it's been almost 8 years. Okay. When they asked
Right.
him at the debate, what did he say? I have a concept of a replacement. He's got a fucking concept of a replacement. He's got a concept of his economic plan. He's got a concept of everything. In the meantime, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz have put out an 82-page thorough plan of their economic policies. So
And by the way, do you know where concepts come from?
his head.
They come, nope, they come from think tanks.
That's right.
They come from think tanks like the Heritage Foundation.
That's
He
right.
has a concept because he was given it.
He's got a concept. The
He's not
concept is to get rid of Obamacare. How many times have they tried to repeal that with nothing in its place?
right.
How many? And if you've got pre-existing conditions, that'll be the first part that goes. That'll be the first thing that they want to get rid of. They've already stated that. By the way,
Now,
they also want to get rid of the NOAA and they want to get rid of
right,
hurricane relief. Is everybody paying attention to what's going on in North Carolina and Florida?
right,
Anybody
right,
looking at anything? Are
right.
you all fucking in the ozone? I'm literally, if you haven't been paying attention, North Carolina is the worst hit. And we're talking about a place that was 300 miles offshore. Well, that's another thing. Let's forget global warming because that's not true. Well, I'm pretty sure it is after this last hurricane. If this isn't proof here, I don't know what is, but it won't matter because he's going to cut all the hurricane relief.
So, um, and I'm probably going to start just because I'm confused, honestly, about the name thing. I'm screwed with the names. I'm probably just going to keep calling her President Harris at this point. But my question for you is, and it just came in my head. about LGBTQ plus. Are are the right wing trying to call that a pre-existing condition?
They might.
You see where I'm going with that?
Yeah,
You see where I'm going with that?
I do. Yeah, yep.
That they may decide not to treat an entire group of people and
They
kind
just
of
as
treat
soon
it
not
like,
even consider them. They just as soon wipe them off the planet. Quite frankly,
right, right,
let's not make any
right.
bones about it. I'm one of them, so I know.
So let's pull their health care because we're not treating a pre-existing condition.
I didn't
Okay,
trust. I didn't trust the. I didn't trust the Republicans when George W. Bush was president. I really don't trust them now because actually Donald Trump makes George W. Bush look like a fucking, I don't know, a Democrat. So
right, right. One other thing, I think this is going to happen, Deb. So it'll probably happen at the end of October. We we will probably have a guest on to talk about Prop One, which it is designed. It is a constitutional amendment in New York designed to strengthen civil rights protections. Here's the thing, though, everybody. Those protections won't mean as much if all of this goes away. So just understand it. It's still important. And I urge you to vote yes for Prop One. I do. But at the same time, we have to look at everything else. And we also have to look at voting for every single Democrat, Senate, House, Assembly, whatever, to purge this so we can get things back to sanity
yep,
and protect people and make sure that these guys have overtime pay and things. By the way, the overtime pay thing bugs me, or like it bothers me a little bit, because if you're paying people overtime pay, that means your business is doing very, very well. So cut the shit already. Now, there are also provisions out there to take overtime pay away from people who aren't working. Just so you know,
yeah,
none of it, all of this is about worker protection. It also does protect the employer to a certain degree. This isn't, the unions are not about, oh, let's screw over management as much as we possibly can and get whatever we
but
can and
that's
then
not what
run.
they're doing. They're
No, that's not
protecting
what we are.
workers.
That's not what we are. So what we are is to make sure that there is a balance somewhere
Yep.
in there where these guys aren't being abused.
Maybe you ought to go back and look at the 1940s and the 1930s and the way workers were treated back then before unionizing was a big thing, and just see how workers were
Take
treated.
a look at the
Maybe you ought to
sweatshop
take a look at, I'm
fires.
talking about right here in the United States. I'm not
Yeah.
talking about China. Okay. I'm talking
Yep.
about right here. I'm talking about sweatshops right here in the
Yep.
United States.
Yep.
That's what I'm talking about.
You
I'm
had
talking
people.
about people who
Yeah.
worked in mines dying
Yep.
after working for a week. No protection, no nothing. I mean, seriously, folks. Okay.
People dying.
They'll be happy to take us right back there. They'll be happy to put corporations right back
Right.
in control again. That's the whole bottom line. If you're looking at Project 2025 and you're equating it with fascism, that's one of the basic tenets of fascism. It's uniting
Actually, yeah.
government and corporations. And
Yep.
that's where they're going with all of this. And
One
that
of the
is the Republican Party's mantra. So,
one of the biggest one of the biggest reasons all of these union protections were put in place in the first place is a big sweatshop fire that killed people because the hydrant, or the the water wouldn't work in the building, and the fire extinguishers, whatever they were, wouldn't work.
right.
So those people died and they were crammed in there.
Look,
So I'm
I'm
just
sorry. This is what 21st century now. I'm sorry, but having your workers work under conditions where ambulances have to be kept outside in case
right.
they have heat stroke, that's barbarism. That kind of shit is this is fucking America here, folks.
And we
Okay.
haven't
We're
even
not a
we ha
banana fucking republic, but we're
right.
becoming one.
We haven't even started talking about, you know, the rise in immigrant illegal immigrant labor. Yes, I did say the words, but these guys are they just need to eat. Okay, they're trying to survive. I don't blame. I don't. You know, there's nothing against them, but you're abusing these guys because you know that if they get hurt, they have no recourse.
Right.
If something happens, they have no recourse. And by the way, we didn't even go into this. The rise in child labor again. They're making child labor legal again.
Being thrown out in all the red states. All the red states. No more protection for young workers. 10-year-old kids working at McDonald's till 2 o'clock in the morning. Is that okay with you?
Working with grease.
Kids dying in meatpacking plants, on construction sites. A 16-year-old fell to his death. I'm sorry, folks. This is not the way we want to go, okay?
No,
Maybe you'd feel that way if it were your son.
right.
Whatever. All right, gang, let's end it here before I get really pissed off. Because I'm already pissed off.
I gotta get to work. I gotta go to work
You have to
now.
get to work and you have to go to work and get pissed off too. All right, we're
Go to
gonna end this
work.
one right here. So I'm just gonna end the recording.
Screw the bosses.
You guys
Ah,
can
yeah,
sleep.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.